In an era of white European sprinters still being what I call competitive on the world level, this was one of the most unlikely champions of the 70s and 80s. He was from Scotland. He looked like a rugby player. He didn't look like a sprinter. He had medium finishing speed, and that's why he lost the 200 to Pietro Menea in 1980 because he couldn't finish it off. But that year he won the 100 meters at the Moscow Olympics. And let me tell you something. The Pride of Edinburgh has always overachieved, and we're going to talk about that today because we didn't see it coming. And when he won in 1980 with the boycott year, of course, it wasn't predicted by anybody but his coaching and the people of Scotland himself. So today we're talking about the Whipper man, Allan Whipper Wells. Born in Edinburgh, Scotland, the former track and field sprinter who just recently turned 72, became the 100 meters Olympic champion at the 80 Summer Games in Moscow. In 81, he was both the IAAF Golden Sprints and IAAF World Cup gold medalist. He also was a three-time European gold medalist. Now, he was a multiple medalist for Scotland who would fly under their flag at the Commonwealth Games, winning 2 golds at the Commonwealth Games in 78 and completing a 100-200 meter sprint double at the 82 Games. Wells also recorded the fastest British 100-200 times from 1978 to 83 inclusive, and 100 meters in 84. Now, didn't work out the Olympics in 84, of course. Now, born in Edinburgh, he was educated at Fernieside Primary School and then Liberton High School. He left school at the age of 15 to begin an engineering apprenticeship. He was initially a triple jumper and a long jumper and was the Scottish indoor long jump champion in 1974. But just like Carl Lewis, you could cross over from the jumping sports to the sprints. Now, he began concentrating on sprint events in 1976. In 77, he won the Amateur Athletic Association AAA Indoor 60 meters title and won his first of 7 outdoor Scottish sprint titles. In the 78 season, his times and victories continued to improve. He set a new British record at Gateshead by 10:29, beating Don Quarry and James Sanford, and also won the UK 100-200 championships as well. At the Commonwealth Games in 78, he won the gold in the 200 and silver in the 100. He also won the 4x100 running the second leg with Drew McCaster, David Jenkins, and Cameron Sharp running the other 3 legs. Now, this success continued in 79 when he won the European Cup 200 meters in Turin, beating the new world record holder Pietro Menea on his home ground. He also finished third in 100 meters. Now, this set up a very interesting situation. Even though Pietro and Allan were not verbal rivals, Pietro said many times, "I'm chasing Allan Wells," and he basically could only catch him in the Moscow 200. We'll get that in a second. Now, to start the 80 season, Wells won the AAA 100 meters, then went to Côte d'Azur to finish preparing for the 80 Moscow Olympic Games. He never used starting blocks until a rule change forced him to do so in Moscow. Prior to the Olympics, he was put under pressure by Margaret Thatcher in the boycott of the Games led by the Americans. He responded by declining all media requests. His Olympic participation was threatened by chronic back pain that struck him shortly before the Games began. Each day he underwent 4 exhausting treatment sessions that left him too tired to train. Instead, when not undergoing treatment, he spent his time recovering and relaxing. Now in Moscow, Wells qualified for the final with a new British record of 10:11 when he faced pre-race favorite Silvio Leonard of Cuba. A lot of people thought Silvio was going to knock him off. Wells finished with an extreme lead, which allowed his head and shoulder to cross the finish line by 3 inches before Leonard's chest in a photo finish. Both were given a final time of a very pedestrian 10.25. Wells became the oldest Olympic 100-meter champion at that time at the age of 28. Now, the 200-meter final was another close affair. Wells won the silver medal behind Pietro, who beat him out by 0.02 seconds. Menea was behind by at least 10 meters in the final going before he caught up to me. The second part of the 200 was much faster than his 100. He did set a British record by winning silver of 2021. He went on to break a third British record, 38.62, with a sprint relay team that finished fourth in the final. Now, in a later interview Wells said the two issues he faced prior to the games were inadvertently key factors in his success. He said in an interview to the Scotsman, "When we got to Moscow, my wife and coach Margot and I decided I'd do 6 starts and see how it went. The 4th and 5th were full out as it was competing, and I asked Margot what she thought. She said they were the best she'd ever seen me do. The rest had done me a lot of good. I was really fresh and committed, and those starts gave me the psychological edge over everyone else, which was the key because the Olympics is all about your mental aptitude. You're at your fastest when you're relaxed and flowing." Wells' 10.11 to qualify for the finals remains the Scottish record, rather than having to be aggressive. We still don't know why we were both 0.14 slower in the final, but it is what it is. Now, following the Olympics, there had been some suggestion that Wells' gold medal had been devalued by the boycott of the Games. I don't think so, because you have to beat the people that are there. He did accept an invitation to take on the best USA sprinters of the day, among others the ASV Weltklasse track meet in Cologne in West Germany. Less than 2 weeks after the Moscow goal, he won the final of Cologne in a time of 10:19, beating, get this, Stanley Floyd, Mel Latney, Harvey Glantz, and Carl Lewis. Latney went straight over to Wells after crossing the line to say, "For what it's worth, Allan, you're an Olympic champion. You should have been an Olympic champion, no matter who ran against you in Moscow." At the end of 1980, he was awarded Scottish Sports Personality of the Year. Now, in 81, after a tour of Australia and New Zealand, he won the European Cup 100 meters, beating East German Frank Emmelmann. Wells also finished second in the 200. He then won the IAAF Golden Sprints in Berlin, which was the most prominent sprint meeting in the world that year. Although finishing second to Frenchman Herman Panzot by 0.1 seconds in 100, Wells won the 200, beating the top 4 American sprinters, Latney, Phillips, Floyd, Williams, as well as Ben Johnson in 100 and 200, 10-15, 20-15 in the races, for Wells to win the event in aggregate 30-30. Wells won 100 meters at the IAAF World Cup in Rome, beating Carl Lewis. Wells then finished second in the World Cup 200 in 2053. Afterwards, he bet Latney and Stanley Floyd again when he won a 200 in 2026 in a Memorial Van Dam meeting in Brussels. Now, in 82 in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, he won 2 more Commonwealth Games titles in 100, which was a wind-assisted 10:02, and then the 200 meters, and also took a bronze medal in relay. He shared the 200-meter title with Mike McFarland of England in 24-3 in a rare dead heat. Of course, that race would not be a dead heat in 2024. You saw with the Noah Lyles debacle. Now, in 83, he won his 3rd European Cup title by winning 200 in 2072, beating Menea in London, and again took second in 100 meters. He then finished 4th in both the 100-200 sprint finals at the IAAF World Championships in Helsinki. Now, age 32, he reached the 100-meter semifinals at the 84 Olympics, and was a member of the relay team that finished 7th in the final. Now, Wells missed most of 85 with injury. He was not selected for the Commonwealth Games in Edinburgh in 86, as he had failed to compete in the Scottish trials. However, on August 5th at Gateshead, he bet both Ben Johnson and Atlee Mahorn, the respective Commonwealth 100-meter and 200-meter champions from Canada. Now, Wayne's gained additional attention at Gateshead for being the first to be seen sporting the new common Lycra running shorts. The sight of these led to being dubbed Wilson of the Wizard, a comic book character. Now, Wells was consequently selected for Stuttgart in the European Championships, coming 5th in both 100 and 200. He also had a victory against Linford Christie at Crystal Palace at the end of 86 in 100 meters at 10:31. One of his last victories was winning the Inverness Highland Games 100-200 double in 87. In 87, his best time was 10:28 and he qualified for Rome World Championships, but was injured. Now, although his later career was plagued by repeated back injuries, he still won a career total of 18 medals at major title events before retiring in his mid-30s. He and Corey and Menea set a trend for sprinters in the mid-30s to compete longer in the late 80s. Now, since 82, Wells has lived in Surrey with his wife Margot. After retirement, he was a coach for the British bobsleigh team. Margot was also a Scottish 100-meter hurdles champion. They are now based in Guildford, Surrey, where she's a fitness consultant, and Allan is a retired system engineer. He also coached the Bank of Scotland Specialist Sprint Squad, alongside other former Scottish sprinter Ian Mackey. Now, his personal best for the 100 is 10:11, and the 200 is 20:21, run in the Moscow 1980 Games, and both are still Scottish records. He did run a win-assistant 10:02 in Brisbane in 82, and 20.11 in Edinburgh 1980. Now, in June 2015, a BBC documentary, and if you can check it out, it's called Catch Me If You Can, True Panorama, uncovered allegations by Wells' former teammate of historical doping by the 1980 Olympic 100-meter champion, beginning in 77. Wells denied the allegations. Was he on dope? No. If he was on dope, it wasn't making him any faster because, he just had a natural speed. Now, member of the Order of British Empire, he got in the 1982 Bertie Honours for services to athletics. He also inducted alongside Eric Liddell and Wyndham Halswell, two other former Scottish athletic Olympic champions, into the Scottish Sports Hall of Fame. He was the first baton holder for the Queen's Baton Relay for the 2014 Commonwealth Games, carrying the baton from Buckingham Palace in London in October 2013. In July 2014, Wells received, along with his wife Margot, an honorary Doctorate of Science from Edinburgh Napier University. And what was interesting, ladies and gentlemen, with the death of Pietro Menea at the age of 60, he was back in the news again because allegedly he was in complete shock for a few days because they're around the same age, and his passing really hit him hard. I did a previous podcast on the Arrow, and it was a very interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen, because the battles between Menea and Wells were almost front page news because in Italy, Wells was just as popular in an opposite way, like the heel. And Menea, I forget what he called him. I think he called him the Beast. There was a story in one of the Olympic books. Menea had called him the Beast. He was chasing the Beast. But at 1972 by Menea, your best race will give you that speed. You look at Michael Johnson, you look at Noah Lyles, you got Andre DeGrasse. If you have the best race in you, and if the timing is right, you're going to win a medal. And for that 100, he had the best race against Leonard, even if it was 0.14 slower. It's very rare that a semifinal time is faster than the final at the Olympics. Well, all I know, ladies and gentlemen, when I was growing up, the biggest deception to not see Allan Wells and Yifter the Shifter and Pietro Menea and all the great runners in the Colin Ovett in 1980, we were really ripped off, ladies and gentlemen. We should never have boycotted the Olympics. Not say a boycott, but we should have shown the Olympics because there was a lot of great track and field, and Allan Wells being a Commonwealth champion, it was disgraceful to not show the guy that really was the hero of Edmonton. And Edmonton was a great Commonwealth Games. It put Alberta sports on the map in a lot of ways. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're an Allan Wells fan, there's lots out there. Please let me know what you think, your favorite Allan Wells moment. Like, comment, subscribe, or share. My dad called him the Scottish Superman. It never caught on in our group. But anytime I think of Scotland, I think of Allan Wells. Because to win the 100 meters, it doesn't matter who you beat. If you won, you're a winner for life. You can never take away that medal. And like many people said, Jim McKay said, you only run against the people in your race. You can't run against, somebody injured or run against somebody that's not there. You run and you either win or lose. But for him to run a sub 10 minute would be impossible. His body type wasn't there. Like his maximum, I think, would be a 10:05 or 10:10. In 200 meters, he would never go under 200. But Menea, that last 100, if you watched when Wells was knocked off, the tape, amazing. One of the most biggest comebacks in Olympic history. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're doing here, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And as like we say in the North Shore, you got to wait for the gun before you go off. Have a good one. Bye.